Hi guys, Pepper Band is coming at you here today with a bit of a migraine. so, uh, anyhow, what I'm going to be talking to you today about is going to be from a preparedness point of view uh, under today's current conditions. All right, grids up, there's vehicles driving, everybody's happy. All right, so what I'm going to talk to you about is gathering and harvesting firewood. All right, so I'm going to give you the concept. I'm going to give you the concepts and give you my opinion on the tools uh, to be using in this current state. Um, I'm not out there to knock anybody for wanting to use their big fancy folding saws. You go and knock yourself out. I am talking from a practical, realistic standpoint, um, where I'm cutting 8 cords of wood a year to heat my house as my only, not just primary source of heat, my only source of heat, and also about a cord and a half of firewood counted in that 8 cords for cooking on my wood stove uh, when whenever I want, and for a little bit of additional heat during extreme cold. All right, so let's get on with it. Okay, realistically, okay, so I'm going to throw some prices out here for you too. All right, chainsaw. What I run is the little 290, well, little to me anyhow, little 290 still. I generally run a 22-inch bar on them with a 3/8 drive full tooth chain. Okay, you can look up those terms. It's also called a production tooth or a full house tooth chain. Um, so those two of those saws, I have 4 altogether, but two of those saws cost me $700. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a little price comparison as far as preparedness, sort of winter preparedness goes from my perspective. Okay, so that's $700 for 2 chainsaws, complete with bars and chains. All right, 1 month at 2,000 calories a day for one person. I was just on their website at Mountain House for their freeze-dried um, slop is $800. 1 month for one person, 2,000 calories a day, supposedly. Okay, $800. All right, $800. All right, moving on down from that, one of those 22-inch bar and a chain. If you want to get spares, you can if you want, but mine with proper care and use. My bars last upwards of 10 years. All right, a chain. I go through a chain every, well, probably 12 cords, every 12 cords of wood. So that's from my standpoint. You might go through more chains as you're learning. In fact, you will go through more chains as you're learning. A chain is $22 Canadian for a 22-inch bar on the steel 3/8 drive and full production tooth chain. Okay, now let's go on down there. Let's go on down, and we'll look at the price of a Silky Boy 650 Katana folding saw. All right, which is hand operated, not gas powered, and that's $260. Okay, the spare blade is $110. Okay, I'm giving to you all these prices to you in Canadian dollars. All right, so that's pretty pricey, eh? Replacement blade, $110. Replacement bar and chain, right? So what someone's going to do is a what if ninja is going to come out and go, well, what if the grid went down right now from an EMP from North Korea or some sort of terrorist cyber attack from Russia or China or something like that? Well, this is where the preparedness part comes in. Currently, we have 8 5-gallon jerry cans of fuel dedicated. That's dedicated for the chainsaws. Okay, that gives me enough. That gives me enough fuel. Plus, I have all the mix oil to go with it and all the chain oil to go with it. Um, Sorry, skipping around here a bit. Rule of thumb. Rule of thumb is 2 gallons chain oil. Uh, 2 gallons chain oil. You will go through 2 gallons of chain oil per 5 gallons of gas. Just a rough rule of thumb for you. Okay. So just got that out of the way. Okay. So that 40 gallons is going to give me approximately. It'll get me close to 40 cords. Okay. It's going to get me really close to 40 cords, probably around 35, between 35 and 38, but pretty close to 40. So just depending on conditions and how well your saw is running or how well your saw is maintained, how powerful your saw is, power to gas fuel usage production ratio. Okay, chainsaws out of the way. Okay, that's a no-brainer. All right. Preparedness is preparing for future events. Okay, so under today's current conditions, I can use a chainsaw. All right, use it. Okay, this is a little frustrating to me sometimes. All right. So moving on here down my list. Next thing I would recommend for splitting is one of those small yard works or similar similar product or brand name, whatever. It's just a little electric over hydraulic unit. Splits up to, I believe it is about 28 inches in length. I wouldn't try to split any green wood in it. Pretty rough on it. All right, and try to keep it smaller, like around the 10-12 inch mark, and you'll be fine with it. All right. Of course, you're going to want a splitting maul, splitting axe, that sort of stuff. I myself do prefer to split by hand most of the time. Okay. Moving on from there now. So this is how simple it is, right? I'm giving you the concept. You take it from there. All right. So moving on from there, the transport of it. All right. So starting up at today's conditions. All right. So we got a pickup. We've got a side by side with a small box on it. It holds quite a bit of wood, actually, surprisingly, if you split it. And that's what I use. That's what I use to haul my wood with. Okay, like I'm being real. I'm being real here. Okay, I'm not hiking. I'm not hiking a mile away, going to the bush, cutting the tree down, putting it in a sleigh, and then pulling it home. I mean, realism. Okay, realism. Being prepared. All right. Of course, I do have those things, and I have nothing against that. But I'm talking about preparedness in under today's current conditions. All right. With that too, if you don't have a truck or an ATV, and like say you just got a minivan or a smaller SUV, just go get if you can, get yourself a small trailer off of a little single axle trailer off of Craigslist, or Kijiji, whatever, something like that, and go out and cut your firewood. You don't have to overload it. You don't have to kill yourself doing this stuff. Go cut your firewood, bring it home. Okay. I'm gonna have a comment about the firewood thing here, about burning wood here in just a bit, right near the end. All right, now let's move on. Oh, I missed a point in the fuel section there. Somebody's going to come on here and go, well, so and so said on YouTube that fuel is no good after 3 years. Well, under the conditions that I store my fuel under, dry, cool, no sun, well vented, and I go in and we vent the fuel. Probably we vent the fuel caps on the jerry cans probably twice during the winter just to keep the fuel cans from collapsing, and probably once a week, at least once a week in the summer to keep them from blowing up. Right. Um, the fuel, uh, like right now, I'm using fuel that's not quite 5 years old. Okay, and I didn't even put stabilizer in this stuff. I do have stabilizer in the rest of the fuel that's in the barn, but this stuff's not even stabilized. And my saw's not pausing. It's not skipping. There's no smoke coming out. There's no lack of power. It runs just fine. Okay, so that's up to you to check out for yourself, and 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 you can do research if you like on Google. Uh, it's better if you just do it. Okay, just do it, uh, and gain that experience, right? Uh, Anyhow, moving along for your firewood storage. All right, so what I would do, if I were you guys, in building a woodshed is make that woodshed so that it can hold 2 years of firewood. Okay, however much that's going to be for the climate for where you live in. Okay, for instance, it can be up to just about 8 months of winter up here. All right, I've actually seen killing frosts in August, uh, overnight frosts in August here. It, it, it's not common. It's not a very common thing. It is sort of unusual. We'll call it rare that happens. All right, and just straight to the north of me, just 40, 50 clicks north of me, up in Swan Hills, uh, they get snow in the summer, for crying out loud. I mean, it's a really strange climate here. Um, Anyhow, moving on from that, 1 to 2 years uh, storage in a shed, and for that 1 to 2 years, you want to have uh, good seasoned dry firewood. Okay, and in your as part of your woodshed, you want to elevate the base of it, whether it's going to be gravel or concrete or whatever. You want that up at least 6 inches higher than the ground level. All right, to avoid moisture, uh, getting into the bottom of your wood piles, because you get moisture in there, it's gonna your second year you're gonna start seeing that it's gonna rot. It's gonna freeze. Okay, um, and it makes it miserable right at the bottom of the pile when you're smacking it off with the butt end of your splitting maul or axe to get that stuff out. Then you got to bring it in and dry it out and burn it. It's just not very efficient. Okay, 3 to 5 year storage. Okay, this is what I'm going to suggest for you. Okay, I've done this a couple of times. I've never gotten up to 5 years. That's like 40 cords of wood. That's a huge amount. The most I've ever gotten ahead was about 3.5 years of firewood. Um, so for your 3 to 5 year storage, this is what I'm recommending, and I'm coming at this from the point of view um, that don't have a lot of hardwoods up here. We've got a bit of birch. Um, mainly it's pine, spruce, and poplar. Um, I don't cut a lot of poplar. Whatever. Doesn't burn hot enough for me. Uh, Anyhow, cut that sort of stuff green. Okay, cut it green for the 3 to 5 year storage. Pile it up. Make sure the base is above ground level. Pile it up in piles. Okay, so you have year 3, year 4, year 5. Tarp them over and and let them sit. Okay, so and then you have to rotate, right? So you've finished burning your wood. It's the start of summer. You've finished burning your first year's worth of wood. You get back into your woodshed. If you have to do any cleanup, restacking, do it, and then you fill up your woodshed with your third year and keep it separate. Keep it separate from your second year's cut, and you just keep rotating like that. So you go 2, 3, and 4, then you're 5, and in the meantime, you're cutting all the time anyhow. And let's face it, green trees are far more common, live trees are far more common than nice seasoned dead fall, okay, or snags, which is a standing dead tree. All right, so really that's about all I got to say on that. Um, very basic, very basic talk. So I'll just summarize everything. Okay, chainsaw, 8 5-gallon containers, um, small hydraulic splitter, small axe, um, transport, whichever way you like, um, truck, ATV, minivan with trailer, off you go, and storage, a 2-year storage shed. When you're getting ahead of it, when you're getting ahead of the game, separate piles for each year, up to 5 years. You might be able to go to 6, okay? Because I didn't explain that. I'll explain that right now. Because after um, after the wood is seasoned, uh, every every year after that you use that you go to use that wood, as it gets drier and drier and drier, and it starts to absorb in moisture and it starts to rot. Okay, so after about typically after about 4 years, it turns to paper. Okay, depending on your environmental conditions. It's very dry up here. Even the winters are dry, cold, dry. Summers generally run pretty dry. So wood does dry out very quick. Okay, I hope I hope this is of useful information to some of you guys out there, um, especially guys with the GSM stuff, and you guys that are preparing your bug out location or retreat, uh, whatever you want to call it. So that's all I got to say on that. After burning wood for 30 years as my only source of heat. Okay, you guys take care.